Welcome back, friends. Next up is another wool quilt, pieced and appliqued by Kathy Kanzier. As you can see, the focus of this quilt is the applique, and there's a ton of it. So when it came time to decide how to quilt it, I knew I had to keep the design simple. Not only is the applique wool, but the background is also wool, so all the quilting will really show. I chose to use black micro quilter thread on top, which is 100 weight, and black bottom line thread in the bobbin for most of the stitching in the center of the quilt. In those areas where the black top thread would show too much, like on the tan blocks, I would change my top thread to a gray or a tan color. Because this thread really buries itself into the wool fabric, and because I have great tension on my APQS Millennium, I did not have any issues with using a different color thread on top and bottom. First, I stitched in the ditch around the border and added the corner designs using a ruler. I'll talk more about that later. Then I would stitch in the ditch around the applique before rolling to the next section. As you can see here, I use an open toe foot, so I can really see where the needle is going. This meant that I had to switch back and forth between my ruler foot and the open toe foot, but it was worth it. Sometimes having the right tools makes all the difference. After I finished quilting the center, then I quilted the border all at once by rolling back and forth. This was only because I had yet to decide how I was going to quilt the border. I was on a tight deadline to get this one quilted, so I did not get a chance to video all of the steps. But let's just quickly look at the quilting path for the corner design, or cornerstones as I like to call them, and then we will look at the border. For the cornerstones, I used the quilted pineapple 8-inch curve ruler and the BFF ruler for the straight lines. I measured out 2.5 inches from the point where the blocks intersect in all 4 directions and placed a straight pin there. I did this at each intersection. If you choose to do this design, you can mark it with a marking tool if you wish. Now, starting at one of the markings and using the curve ruler, I stitched all 4 curved lines until I got back to where I started. Then I switched to the straight ruler and simply stitched the straight lines going back and forth, pivoting from the center intersection. Now I'm ready to travel down the ditch and do the next cornerstone. So simple, but so effective. I consider the border as the frame that surrounds the piece of art, and in this case the only place I knew that the quilting would really shine. So I played around with many different designs before I found the right one. I used black so-fine thread on top, which is a 40 weight thread, so a little thicker, and the quilted pineapple 10-inch and 20-inch curved rulers for the spine of the feathers. Starting in the binding area and pivoting at the point where it lined up with the cornerstone designs, I stitched the spine all the way around the quilt using the 20-inch ruler in the corners. Then I stitched the feather design all the way around the quilt on one side. and then the feather on the other side. This style of feather, the kind that touches the binding area, are easy to do in sections as you are quilting the center of the quilt. And had I knew how I was going to quilt the border, I probably would have done it that way, a section at a time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please leave a comment below telling me what you've learned, or let me know what you'd like to see next. And don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe to my channel on YouTube so you don't miss the next video coming out soon. Bye for now.